Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear Arjuna, because you are never envious of me, I shall impart to you this most confidential knowledge and realization, knowing which you shall be relieved of the miseries of the material existence. Purport. As a devotee hears more and more about the Supreme Lord, he becomes enlightened. This hearing process is recommended in the Srimad Bhagavatam. The messages of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are full of potencies, and these potencies can be realized if topics regarding the Supreme Godhead are discussed amongst devotees. This cannot be achieved by the association of mental speculators or academic scholars, for it is realized knowledge. The devotees are constantly engaged in the Supreme Lord's service. The Lord understands the mentality and sincerity of a particular living entity who is engaged in Krishna consciousness and gives him the intelligence to understand the science of Krishna in the association of devotees. Discussion of Krishna is very potent, and if a fortunate person has such association and tries to assimilate the knowledge, then he will surely make advancement towards spiritual realization. Lord Krishna, in order to encourage Arjuna to higher and higher elevation in his potent service, describes in this 9th chapter matters more confidential than any he has already disclosed. The very beginning of Bhagavad Gita, the first chapter, is more or less an introduction to the rest of the book. And in the 2nd and 3rd chapters, the spiritual knowledge described is called confidential. Topics discussed in the 7th and 8th chapters are specifically related to devotional service, and because they bring enlightenment in Krishna consciousness, they are called more confidential. One who is situated in the most confidential knowledge of Krishna is naturally transcendental. He therefore has no material pangs, although he is in the material world. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu it is said that although one who has a sincere desire to render loving service to the Supreme Lord is situated in the conditional state of material existence, he is to be considered liberated. Similarly, we shall find in the Bhagavad Gita, 10th chapter, that anyone who is engaged in that way is a liberated person. Now this first verse has specific significance. The words idam jnanam, this knowledge, refer to pure devotional service, which consists of 9 different activities: hearing, chanting, remembering, serving, worshipping, praying, obeying, maintaining friendship, and surrendering everything. By the practice of these 9 elements of devotional service, one is elevated to spiritual consciousness, Krishna consciousness. When one's heart is thus cleared of material contamination, one can understand the science of Krishna. Simply to understand that a living entity is not material is not sufficient. That may be the beginning of spiritual realization. But one should recognize the difference between activities of the body and the spiritual activities of one who understands that he is not the body. In the 7th chapter we have already discussed the opulent potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his different energies, the inferior and superior natures, and all this material manifestation. Now in chapter 9, the glories of the Lord will be delineated. The Sanskrit word anasuyave in this verse is also very significant. Generally the commentators, even if they are highly scholarly, are all envious of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even the most erudite scholars write on Bhagavad Gita very inaccurately. Because they are envious of Krishna, their commentaries are useless. The commentaries given by devotees of the Lord are bona fide. No one can explain Bhagavad Gita or give perfect knowledge of Krishna if he is envious. One who criticizes the character of Krishna without knowing him is a fool. So such commentaries should be very carefully avoided. For one who understands that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the pure and transcendental personality, these chapters will be very beneficial. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, idam tu te guyatamam, prokshami anasuyave jnana vijnana sahitam yajgarva moksha se shubat. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear Arjuna, because you are never envious of me, I shall impart to you this most confidential knowledge and realization, knowing which you shall be relieved of the miseries of material existence. So there are elements in this verse which are very significant, as in all verses of Bhagavad Gita. First of all, as we have heard Prabhupada describe on different occasions. The verse begins with the words Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. Bhagavan is no ordinary man. Ordinary persons cannot become Bhagavan. Conditioned souls may not be known as Bhagavan. Even though some unscrupulous fellows dare to proclaim themselves Bhagavan, they are in fact simply cheaters. If one proclaims himself God without having the characteristics of the Supreme, then how he can be anything else but a cheater? And certainly foolish persons will believe that because they want to be cheated. In this world, we find there are cheaters or cheated. Take your pick. If you're not somebody who's being cheated, then you're somebody who's cheating somebody else. Because we have a cheating propensity. It's one of our 4 defects. We cheat others. And, in turn, we become cheated ourselves. We are cheating others with our identification of what we are, and they are cheating us with their identification of what they are. We cheat ourselves continuously, and we are often an illusion, misunderstanding the simplest things about ourselves, about our body, about our life. So cheating is one of the natural things, and so is lying and all these other bad qualities that are there in the conditioned souls who are trying to maintain a false position within this material world. Come in. So, we find that when you want to speak about Bhagavan, you are speaking about someone who's beyond all of the defects of this material world. Bhagavan Shri Krishna. He is filled with all Aishwaryas. Different Aishwaryas are there. Krishna has all wealth. He has all beauty, all knowledge, all strength, all fame, and all renunciation. 6 opulences. Aishwarya refers to the wealth, Virya, the strength, Shri, the beauty, Jnana, the knowledge, Vairagya, the renunciation, Yasha, the fame. These 6 qualities are respected by everybody. When we find somebody in this world who's very beautiful, then we respect that person. Just as in our drama, we find Bilvamangala, while still manifesting the conditioned state, thinking that his girlfriend was very beautiful and thus worthy of all respect, more so than his dead father. We find that beauty makes one opulent, even if one is a complete fool from all other considerations. He's very beautiful, then others tend to want to come into that association. It's like there are many beautiful girls in the material world, and maybe not many of them are very intelligent. Of course, they may think they don't have to be intelligent. If you're just beautiful, that's good enough. And it may be in the material world, it may be good enough. But we are all attracted to beauty. Strength. If one has the strength of 10,000 elephants, Maharati, he is considered to be worshipable by others who are not very strong. If one is very rich, people tend to come before you all the time, begging for some money, begging for a favor, mercy. One is powerful in that sense. Political man, people are just begging from him all the time, all day long, begging. One is very famous, they come before you wanting autograph, want to touch you. And if one is very renounced, of course, nowadays renunciation is not seen to be very attractive. But we see that still, when one is very attractive by renunciation, others want to come and drag him away from that renunciation. They're attracted to him in that way. So, 6 qualities. Krishna has them all in full. I think we missed knowledge in that lesson. Somebody's very intelligent, everybody's very eager to get something from his intelligence using. We find that Krishna possesses all 6 opulences fully. In other words, there's nobody more opulent than him anywhere in the whole creation. He is the most supremely opulent. He is, therefore, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because he is possessing all opulences everywhere. But those who know Krishna's position as Bhagawan, the supremely opulent personality of Godhead, they are very eager to come in contact with Krishna. They want to worship Krishna, love Krishna, please Krishna. They want to do everything for the sake of Krishna, because they know he is the supremely powerful one. So when we hear Bhagavad Gita, not only this verse, but all the verses, it is not ordinary person who's speaking, it's Sri Bhagawan Uvacha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who possesses all 6 opulences in full. There's another way of looking at Krishna. We can understand Krishna in another way. What he is. Bhagawan. My father had a father, his father had a father, his father had a father, his father had a father. Everybody's father has a father. Who's the original father? From whom all these sons came. Krishna. He is also the source of the whole creation. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadi Radha Govinda Sarvakana Karnam. Krishna's qualities are glorified by Lord Brahma in the Brahma Samhita. Ishvara. He's the supreme controller. Parama Krishna. We are also, to a certain degree, controllers. You may control this person, that person in your family, or a boss. If you're a boss at work, you may control some laborers. If you are a teacher, you may control some students. But you're nothing compared to the demigods who control many things, and the demigods are nothing compared to Krishna, who is Ishvara Parama, the supreme controller of all controllers. He is Anadi Radha Govinda. He has no source, no cause. He's the cause of everything else. Sarvakarna Karnam, the cause of all causes. Therefore, Bhagavan also means that personality who is the cause of all causes. Of course, specifically, Bhaga means opulence, Van means to possess. So Bhagavan, one means one who possesses all opulences. However, Krishna, being the source of everything, is obviously the source of all opulences. Because all opulences emanate from him. If you have some beauty, some wealth, some fame, some knowledge, some renunciation, these qualities come from Krishna. Krishna is the source of all this, the reservoir of all ingredients, and it is all dispersed to the living entities according to their karma. He gives to all the living entities according to their karma some opulences. Yad vibhuti matsatvam mama tejamsa sambhava, Krishna says, that whatever opulent or beautiful thing you see in this creation is but a spark of my splendor, being given by me. Mama tejamsa. Teja means Krishna's power, amsa means a part. It comes from Krishna. He gives it. Sambhava, it all comes from me. It all manifests from me. It's all but a spark of my potencies. So therefore, Krishna, because he's the source of everything, everyone, he is the Lord of all opulences too, because all opulences come from him. That is opulence. When you're so opulent that you are giving opulences to everyone else, in fact, no one else has any opulence unless it came from you, that's opulence. It's like the king with limitless wealth, just passes it out to the Brahmanas without any restriction. Here, take. Take cows, take land, take gold, take clothes. Kings in the Vedic sacrifices used to just disperse, pass out, distribute wealth to all of the very worthy personalities. And Krishna, he's given all the wealth to all the kings in all the worlds. After all, who's the one who put all the gold in the gold mines? Who's the one who put all the cows on the earth? And who's the one who put all the earth on the earth anyway? That's the Supreme Personality of God, who possesses all opulence, therefore he can distribute all opulence as he likes. That's Krishna's position. So it is Shri Bhagavan who's speaking here. Not some ordinary personality, not some mundane person who takes the word Bhagavan and places it upon himself, although he's actually Bhagavan. Bhoga, material enjoyment. Or maybe we can call him Roga. Roga, that also works in Sanskrit, you see. And also in English, very nice. So, some may call themselves Bhagavan, they're Bhagavan. Simply enjoying themselves. Possessor of all enjoyments. They may say, Krishna, he also enjoys. Yes, but Krishna also lifts up Govardhan Hill. So you can lift up Govardhan Hill. You can also enjoy like Krishna. We don't mind, we're not envious. If you have the potency as the enjoyer, then you must also be the controller. And therefore you must have all opulences. Therefore you can also lift Govardhan Hill, kill Putana witch. Open your mouth and let Mother Yasoda see all the universes within. You can do like that. You can also enjoy with the gopis in the middle of the night in the forest of Vrindavan. Oh, you can't do that? Then get out of here, you nonsense. Calling yourself Bhagavan. And the only opulence is a bunch of cars. You think Krishna has to get Rolls Royce cars? Krishna takes golden chariots. Once, some reporters in San Francisco asked Prabhupada why he rode in a big car. It wasn't even a big car. Yes, it was a big car, but it wasn't even an expensive car. And it wasn't even our car, we just rented it. So they say, look, why you ride in such a car? And besides that, why you have such big carts? Then he got to the real point. After it was explained that the car was rented. They got to the good, why these big carts in this parade? Prabhupada said, for the personality of Godhead, these carts are hardly sufficient. We should have golden chariots. I can repeat this again in the class. And these reporters were questioning him like this. That people are thinking, sometimes when we make all opulence for Krishna, they're thinking this is too much. It's too much. We should actually be spending less and give to the peoples. But actually, Krishna is the source. When he's pleased, all the peoples are pleased too. If you try and please the peoples independently of Krishna, then what happens is that everything dries up and nobody's satisfied. But when you satisfy the source of all existence, Krishna, everybody's satisfied. He's like the root of the tree. When you satisfy the root of the tree with water, then all the leaves and branches are automatically satisfied as well. If you actually try to satisfy Krishna, everybody everywhere is automatically satisfied. How is that possible? Well, there's a pastime which describes this in the Mahabharata, which Prabhupada once quoted because it is very interesting. The Kauravas, led by Duryodhana, wanted to make all kinds of trouble for the Pandavas. Therefore, Duryodhana once invited Durvasa Muni. Durvasa Muni is a part of Lord Shiva. So he was a very, very ferocious Muni. Easily pleased and easily angered, just like Lord Shiva was. So, Durvasa was pleased very much pleased by Duryodhana's activities. So he asked, okay, take a benediction. Duryodhana said, I just ask you to kindly go and with your 60,000 disciples, because he never went alone, kindly go with your 60,000 disciples to the Pandavas in the forest, and after Draupadi has taken prasadam, then you go and you just show up there. That's all I ask. Yeah. What did this all mean, for those of you who don't know? The Pandavas were in the forest, and they were suffering. So, they didn't have proper food to eat. Suffering, you're a king, you go to the forest, you're suffering. So, Maharaj Yudhishthira wanted to take care of the Brahmanas. So he worshipped the sun god. The sun god gave him a pot, which would give unlimited food, so long as Draupadi has not taken her food. So this pot was very wonderful. So that day, everyone had taken their food, and then Draupadi had taken her food, and the pot gave up for the day. At that time, Durvasa Muni and his 60,000 disciples came upon the scene. And Maharaj Yudhishthira, thinking fast, said, oh, dear sir, why don't you go take your bath first and do your midday ablutions and other things, and then, when you come back, we'll have something for you. Knowing well that Draupadi had already taken, and what was going to be done. So Draupadi, being very much disturbed at all this, meditated upon Krishna, who came there immediately, and said, is there any food left anywhere? Draupadi said, no, everything's gone. So Krishna went and looked at that pot, and there was just one little tiny morsel. Tiny, teeny little piece left. So he took that and was immediately satisfied. At the same moment, all those 60,000 plus Durvasa who were in the river were immediately stuffed up to here. And totally satisfied. And they felt really embarrassed. They thought, oh no, here we are completely full. If we eat any more, we're going to get sick. And here we have Maharaj Yudhishthira cooking for 60,001 persons. Therefore, this is not very good. We had better just go away. So they just went out. So we find the perfect example. Krishna was satisfied. Automatically, all of those sages were satisfied. We find that also in festivals. When Krishna is satisfied, everybody's satisfied. And if Krishna is not satisfied, everybody's not satisfied. Therefore, on these special days, we try to satisfy Krishna. That's why everybody's downstairs in the kitchen working like anything. They're here in the kitchen. Working like anything to prepare with great love and devotion and immaculate cleanliness. Immediately cleaning whenever they make the slightest mess, because they're cooking with love and devotion for Krishna. So they're very carefully cleaning everything and cooking very nicely. And we're going to come down and check right after that. And offering it all with love and devotion to Krishna. And trying to satisfy him with so many offerings. Generally, the standard is you offer 108 preparations of Janmashtami. Of course, our cooks probably are thinking, 108, what is that? We can do 216, double it! But if they're not thinking that, that's all right. At least 108. That's a lot of preparation. But it's not the quantity that counts. If you offer Krishna 108 bad preparations, that's not the point. You'll not satisfy Krishna with 1,080 bad preparations. But something cooked with love and devotion satisfies Krishna completely. He's not difficult to satisfy. After all, he says in Bhagavad Gita, Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhakti prayachati tadaham bhakti pasitam ashnami prayatapanam. A leaf, a flower, a fruit, water. These are simple things. Which one of you is going to be satisfied if somebody offers you a glass of water? Of course, if you're very thirsty on a hot day, maybe. For some time. But Krishna is satisfied not just with the fruit, flower, a little water, or leaf. He's satisfied with the love. If my devotee offers that to me with love, I accept it. I accept the love. Krishna always is accepting the love. Just like that famous example of the devotee who was in so much ecstasy, he wanted to offer a banana to Krishna. Instead, he offered the peel and threw away the banana. And Krishna accepted it. That's very nice. Because of the love. Don't take advantage of that and think you can offer Krishna peels. No, you cannot. After all, there should be no contamination in the slightest in any preparation offered to Krishna. But if one has love, even he may not be the most expert cook, still that prasadam which is prepared will be attractive. Most attractive. Because of that loving inclination. Krishna is very inclined towards his devotees who offer him with love anything. Krishna becomes inclined towards us because he loves us. And when we reciprocate with him in that transcendental love, then that love just expands like a newly blown lotus flower. It is not very easy to gain, as it is said, the faith of Krishna. That means real love. That you are so much a lover of Krishna that despite all tests that Krishna has given you through his agency, Maya, you have passed them and you are fixed in your devotion to the Supreme Personality of God. And Krishna will accept us and then say, yes, I am like this. Krishna reveals himself like this, says, I am like this. No, you should not expect very quickly. But neither you should expect you have to wait thousands of lifetimes. Krishna is most inclined towards his devotees. He's Bhakta Vatsala. He's inclined. But he's waiting. When will we, the conditioned souls, come to him? Now, he's giving an indication in this verse. Idam tu te guyatama. I'm going to now speak to you a very secret thing. Confidential knowledge. Krishna has spoken many things in Bhagavad Gita. Up to this point, Prabhupada explains in the purport, the first chapter is more or less an introduction to the book. To explain how Arjuna got in the position of asking questions in the first place. The second and third chapters bring out the points of the soul and the soul's relationship within the body and work. The fourth chapter, Krishna explains a little about the mysteries of his appearance and the ways in which one may understand him a little bit. The fifth chapter, the way of working to come in close contact with Krishna through one's work. Sixth chapter about yoga, how one may attain Krishna through the yoga process. And seventh chapter, Krishna speaks more about that yoga with a connection of one's mind and consciousness to him, through knowledge. Eighth chapter speaks about the procedures by which one may go back to the Supreme. The ninth chapter talks about the most confidential. Most confidential knowledge means knowledge which has not been spoken before and which is for that devotee to imbibe, who is Anasuyave Nirmatsaranam Satam. A personality who's not envious. In this world, enviousness is the rule, not the exception. Everybody's envious. They even become envious of the animals. Why that animal should walk around there eating grass. Why he should not be in my stomach. Envious of others. That they have so much opulence. I should also have like that. Therefore the householders of the material mentality are busy trying to get everything that the materialists have and more. Big car, very fancy, very expensive. Nice fancy house. Big this, big that, everything. Very beautiful. Why? Because somebody else has something. I have to have better. Then when I have better, When I'm better materially, then everybody will respect me. Then they will think I'm very great. By such envious mentality, one falls into the clutches of the material existence and doesn't get out. Therefore, the pit of illusion is when one is considering himself the enjoyer. Therefore, he becomes envious of others who are actually enjoying more than him, according to his own opinion. But in fact, when one gives up the envious mentality, he does not think of himself as the enjoyer. He doesn't care if somebody else is enjoying, so-called, in quotes. He doesn't care if others are enjoying in this material world, because he's not attached to that. He doesn't become envious of them. And because he's not envious like that, because he doesn't consider himself the enjoyer, he becomes the fit candidate for Krishna's mercy. Because he's not envious of Krishna either. When you're not envious of others, then you're not envious of Krishna. And when you're not envious of Krishna, then your life is very quickly approaching perfection. One who is not envious of Krishna just wants to offer everything to Krishna. He does not even care if anything is for himself. Everything for Krishna, he will think of. Whatever position there is, condition of life, just let it be for the satisfaction of the Lord. However, the Lord, he also thinks that way too about his devotees. Sudama Brahmana, when he came to Krishna, he had very little to offer, therefore he didn't even want to offer this chipped rice he brought in the bag, which was not suitable. So he had nothing to offer to Krishna, and he had nothing to ask from Krishna. He just was enjoying the association of Krishna in his transcendental loving relationship. He wanted to offer Krishna everything, but he had nothing. He felt badly, but he was so blissful because he had met again with his friend. His old friend, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But when going home, Krishna knew that Sudama Brahmana was extremely poor. He knew also why his wife had sent him. And without saying anything, Krishna just transformed Sudama Brahmana's place into a Vaikuntha palace. Because Krishna also is thinking how to offer everything to his devotees. It's like Krishna told Arjuna, Asmatam Utishta Yasholabhasva. Get up off this chariot. Get out there and fight. Gain your fame. Gain your kingdom. Gain your opulences. Take it. It's for you. I want you to have it. Krishna is telling Arjuna, I want you to have this kingdom. Krishna is giving it to his devotees because Krishna loves his devotees. And he knows that these devotees are not envious, therefore they will not be interested in taking anything for themselves. So many times we find in past times, before the Kurukshetra war, the Pandavas were thinking, let the Kauravas have what they want. Why should we fight? Even after being cheated in different ways, Maharaj Yudhisthira thought like that. And even Arjuna at the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, he said, anyway, let them have the kingdom. And even they don't give me any kingdom, even not even a village, I'll become a Brahmana and sit under a tree. So great are these personalities, we cannot understand. Krishna is glorifying them through their suffering condition. They become more famous, more opulent through their suffering condition. And Krishna just wants to give them everything. So, he says here, Pravakshami Anasuyade, I'm speaking to you, Arjuna, because you're not envious. It's not that anybody can get this knowledge. Only the non-envious can have this knowledge. Only those who have purification of the heart. And what is this knowledge? Jnana vijnana sahitam yajyatva mokshashe shubha. Ashubha. From this miserable material existence, mokshashe. I will save you. How? By giving you knowledge, both practical and theoretical. Theoretical knowledge is required, but putting it into practice is also required, otherwise it is useless. So Krishna is saying, I'm going to give you that knowledge, both practical and theoretical, by which you can conquer me. By which you can conquer over the miseries of this material nature, by which you may understand your original position as my servant, by which you may factually become fixed and immovable in my pure devotional service. What is that pure devotional service? Anya bilashita shunyam jnana kamadhanavritam anukulyena krishnanushilanam bhaktir. When one is engaged without any other material desire whatsoever in Krishna's service, favorably, continuously, without any tinge of karma or jnana, karma, fruit of activity, jnana, speculative knowledge. When he's totally freed from these desires, and any other desire, even mystic power, elevation, heavenly planets, whatever, he's only concerned with satisfying the Supreme Personality of Godhead and nothing else. Such a person is said to be understood, is understood to be situated in pure devotional service. So, these festival days are a chance to hear about Krishna. Ordinarily, we may be engaged very much in activities for the satisfaction of Krishna. We may neglect the hearing. Therefore, Krishna has kindly arranged these days so that we may use this as an opportunity to hear about Him. We'll hear about Him, chant about Him, remember Him, and immediately purification will take place. Shingvata Swagata Krishna Punya Shavana Kirtana Hirjanda Stohi Abhadrani Vidanoti Surit. By hearing, chanting about Krishna, hearing Shingvata Swagata Krishna, topics about Krishna, Krishna's holy name. Punya Shavana Kirtana. This is pious hearing and chanting. This is the real business of the ear, the real business of the tongue. Krishna situated within the heart removes all the abhadras, unwanted things, and situates oneself. Because Krishna is sitting in the heart of all the living entities as the Suhrit, best wishing friend, Satam, eternally. Krishna is the best wishing friend of all of us. Suridam Sarvadehinam, what to speak of us, of all embodied living entities. And if you just hear about Krishna, chant about Krishna, then immediately all good fortune comes. In fact, Masterpaya Shabajay Shunichum Bhagavad Sevaya, Bhagavati Uttimashloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishti. All the inauspicious things which are in the heart are destroyed almost to nil. Almost. There's still that hard knot of material desire, I am the controller or enjoyer, which may be lingering there even while engaged in devotional service. But when one becomes perfected in devotional service, Vichante Vidagrantis Chichante Sarvashamshaya, just gets cut out of the heart, not the heart. Just gets cut out by the potency of devotional process. One should be fixed in hearing Krishna, hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, and rendering service to the pure devotee. Both processes are sufficiently good for going back home, back to God. That is the goal of life. is not to make money. Goal of life is not to make money. Goal of life is not to live in a fancy house with barking dogs guarding at the gate. No. The goal of life is not to become famous. No. The goal of life is not to become the most learned. No. The goal of life is not to have big muscles like a gorilla. No. The goal of life is not to be able to kick through brick walls. No. Neither is the goal of life to eat more than anybody can imagine. No. And neither is the goal of life is to have sex life unlimitedly. No. What is the goal of life? The real goal of life is to attain the loving, transcendental service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the goal. The whole point is to get yourself situated at Krishna's lotus feet. That's the point. That's the goal. That's what we should go for, head for, attain. These other things will never satisfy one for long. After all, you've got to die, you grow old. You may want to eat whatever you like. In youth, it's much easier. The young ones, they can eat as if they have hollow legs. Filled up. As soon as you hit a certain age, more or less 30, then the legs somehow have already filled up and it starts to fill up this way. Then by the time one is a little bit more advanced, real chubby fellow, and he has to give up that eating, otherwise he becomes like a balloon. One may want to eat as much as he can, as much as he likes. On days like today, you can understand what this eating is worth. Not very important. Maybe I said it wrong. But it's a fact, one cannot eat what he likes as long as he likes in every way he wants. Material nature itself will restrict you. How many persons out there in the world are restricted in their diets already by doctors? Oh, you can't eat this and you can't eat this anymore. And besides the fact, when one grows older, the digestive power just starts diminishing like anything. The digestive juice is not so powerful. He's restricted that way. He just can't eat. Oh, what a horror. For the materialist whose whole life has been dedicated to just stuffing anything and everything down the throat with great glee, he can no longer eat because of old age. Oh, how horrifying. That's why when the teeth start falling out, they do anything to put new ones in. Techniques nowadays, they drill a hole in your jaw, and they screw a tooth in. Actually, they screw a screw in, then they glue a tooth around. That way you can eat without having to take your teeth out at night. But this is what the material world is worth. Whatever material enjoyment is there, it cannot last. It must be finished in due course of time. It cannot last. Because that's the nature of things. Dukkalayam ashashvata. They're ashashvata, temporary, and dukkalayam, full of suffering. Why? We are so foolish. Why do we act in these foolish ways as if forced? We are forced to be lusty even though we don't want to. Just like that play of Bilbo. He didn't really want to. But lust overcame. Why? Kama, Esha, Kroda, Esha, Raja, Guna, Samlupa. It comes, it's born of the mode of passion, lust, Kama, which later on turns into anger, wrath. Mahashana, Mahapapam, Sabhujadi, Ikabha. the all-devouring, sinful enemy in this world. Therefore, one must understand the enemy and know well that the enemy thrives in that place where you surround yourself with his forces. For instance, if one is too much attached to drinking alcohol, the intelligent thing to do is not have any around you. Out of sight, out of mind. This is just one example, there are many others. Out of sight, out of mind. If one is seeing all of these nasty substances, then one thinks, I shall not take those nasty substances which are there on the shelf to my right. I shall not look at those nasty substances which are just over my right shoulder. On the second shelf, third bottle from the left. I shall not meditate on those little bottles. I shall not think about them. I shall be strong. I shall forget them. I will not think about them. I shall forget them because they're peaceful. Then the girls come around. The brahmacharis think, now what? Maya's making her attempt. Out of sight, out of mind. Therefore, if one surrounds himself with the material objects of the senses, and at the same time wants to be renounced, very difficult. Therefore, the prescription is, avoid the objects of the senses. Like the tortoise pulls in his senses, limbs within his body, pulls in his head within his body at a sign of fear. So the transcendentalist should withdraw his senses from the sense objects. But this is very advanced platform. How can one do like that? Even great souls have a hard time with this business of controlling the senses. It is stated, Mantrasvasa Vichava Na Viviktasano Bhavet Balavan Indriyagramo Vidvamsam Apikashati. One should not even sit in a secluded place with one's mother or sister or daughter. Now come on, you say. That's ridiculous. Mother, sister, daughter, come on. Seriously. Only an animal would be attracted. But no, the Shastra says, Balavan Indriyagramo. Your senses are animal. And even Vidvamsam Apikashati, even a great Vidvan, learned personality, he can become attracted. Therefore, the rule is there to help one. Because these senses are so strong and impetuous, they may be attracted and attached to any one object which the sense has grappled, embraced. Therefore, one should be very careful in his activities, placing himself in the proper circumstances. Ha, you say. Where are the proper circumstances? In the mountains? Sometimes some go to the forest just to meet the woman tourists who happen to be lingering in the forest. Even they can't find any renunciation there. At least their mind thinks like that. Will there be somebody to meet in this forest? Therefore, Krishna recommends that you should understand renunciation from the point of view of being so satisfied in Krishna's service that one has no longer any desire for any material thing. For those who are embodied, it is very difficult for them to give up the objects of the senses. However, Vasovajam Vasopyasya Param Drisva Nivartate. One who is experiencing the higher taste of Krishna consciousness, he will be able to overcome the lower taste. Because Param Drisva Nivartate, he's got a higher taste. Therefore, he's not attracted to the lower taste. Higher taste means you've got something better. If you've got nice halava in your hand, and somebody offers you some stones, says, here, please take these stones, throw away that halava. Who's going to do that? But if you've got some stones in your hand and somebody's offering you some diamonds, you throw them away real fast. It's a question of relative worth. Everybody will give up that which is not very expensive or not very valuable for that which is very valuable. It's human nature. It's just a question of recognition. You've got to recognize the value. When we actually recognize the value in this material world of the material elements, we'll understand. Not very valuable. When we recognize the value of the spiritual energy, Krishna, how can we compare? Even you think gold and silver and diamonds and rubies and sapphires and emeralds and etc. are very valuable. But who's the one who put it all there? Krishna. So, even you think these things are valuable, but how much more valuable is Krishna, who's the source of all the gold and the diamonds and etc. and all the planets everywhere, in all the universes. In the spiritual sky they have Chintamani stones. They don't need gems, gold, silver. Chintamani stones can produce anything. And they build their houses out. To get one Chintamani stone in this world, people would kill thousands of persons. Millions, they wouldn't stop just to get one stone. Madmen, lusty, full of desires to enjoy one Chintamani stone that can produce unlimited wealth of anything, anywhere. Slaughter anyone who gets in the way. In the spiritual sky, they build their houses out of it, like Chris. And nobody's concerned either, because they've got Krishna. And when you've got Krishna, there is no need for any opulence in this world, no matter how much it is. Therefore, the learned Brahmins, the learned saintly personalities, go to the forest. They go to the forest because there they know they'll not have to bother with all material facilities and material desires or material opulences, and they'll just attain Krishna. When they go there in the vanas, they become situated within peaceful existence because they have no desires. Someone will say, well, we shouldn't go to the forest. All right, then you are situated here as a learned Brahmana, even Chanakya Pandit, who we do not classify as a Vaishnava. But even he was a very great Brahmana and devotee, although that was not his primary concern. He lived in a small hut made of straw, even though the king was ready to give him the most unlimited palace. After all, he was chief minister. Practically, he ruled the kingdom. But he thought, I shall not become attached to these things. I will lose my Brahminical potency. Brahmanas are peaceful in all circumstances. They only want to go back home, back to God. They're not interested in opulences. They're not interested in these positions. They're simply interested in going to Krishna. Vaishnava Brahman is interested in going back to Krishna. Let's not make the mistake of thinking ordinary Brahmana of the material world is equal to a Vaishnava. Vaishnavas are so much higher than even the most superior Brahmana who's not a Vaishnava. Vaishnava, one who serves Vishnu, devotee of Vishnu, servant, he knows. Jivara Sarupoi Krishna Nechidas. I am Krishna's eternal servant. That's all. Now it is our business to just serve Krishna more and more. In transcendental love. Transcendental loving service is our goal, our desire. So just perform that transcendental loving service and be very happy. There's nothing else in this world. When you understand there's nothing else in this world, then you're a learned person. think there's something else in this world born of anything else than Krishna's loving devotional service, then you haven't understood anything. And when you actually understand this, then you've understood. And when you've actually understood that which is to be understood, you'll know why Krishna says at the end of Bhagavad Gita that he who teaches this science of Bhagavad Gita to the devotees, the most dear to me, and never will there be more dear one than he. He who preaches this science of Krishna consciousness is the most dear personality to Krishna. And if you're dear to Krishna, then you're the most dear. Most dear person to Krishna. Can you imagine being dear to Krishna? We never even think of it. We think that Krishna shall be dear to us. Being impersonalist to a great extent, we forget about the fact that Krishna, he becomes attracted to his devotee. He becomes attracted by his devotion. Krishna loves you. Sometimes the Christians, although we don't like to criticize, but they make this statement, God loves you. They don't talk too much about how you've got to love him. They will just say, oh, I love God. But they mainly say, God loves you, therefore you're saved. Yes, God loves you. He loves everybody, even the ones who are the rascals. But they're not saved. To be saved, so-called, requires more than just some saying. One has to actually practice love of the Supreme by serving. You must practice it. You must do it. Not just say it. You must do it. Serve Krishna. Whatever name you want to give for God. Bona fide name, Yahweh, Jehovah, Allah. But serve him. And then that Supreme Personality of Godhead will be lovingly inclined upon you for sure. In reciprocative love. That love is the perfection of life. So let us try and become lovers of Krishna. After all, what else is there in this world? Hare Krishna. When must I stop?